The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is going to be my honorable mention of 2023. Does it escape the DLC allegations made by fans in the months prior to the game's release? Absolutely. But when it preserves what I didn't enjoy about Breath of the Wild and instead doubles down on the aspects such as the lackluster premise and story, well, I felt a bit let down. I will say a few of the new soundtrack pieces they added were really well done, and I enjoyed the more return-to-form style of the main dungeons. Of course, the two main features that steal my heart in this game are Ultra Hand and the fact that this game offers near seamless transition from the sky to the surface to the depths. I've heard Mr. Aonuma's regards that he's confused that people want a traditional return to form for the series, and for me honestly, I just want to return to a story that isn't weak. Heck, not even disregarding the lazy cover-up of most of Breath of the Wild's story, any story that actively repeats the same scene so many times over to the point where I just got up and did my own thing for a few 5 minutes each time, well, that says something. All in all, Tears was still a delight to play through when I chose to treat it the same way I did Breath of the Wild. That is, world first, story second. Seeing the new premise and also our first impressions of Aeliar's design, I'm pretty sure most people thought Fire Emblem Engage was going to be a simple anniversary game and an overall joke. Instead, what we got is one of the most versatile and fun entries in the series. Now, don't get me wrong, the story is relatively cheesy, despite the moments where they really do attempt to be serious, but at the end of the day, it's a new Fire Emblem, a few new waifus, a few new husbandos, some characters that just really pop for everyone, an updated combat system that modernizes many aspects of the core Fire Emblem gameplay, all paired up with dozens of new maps, many of which pay homage to core moments in all of the past entries. I also don't think I'm alone in the belief that they are definitely preparing for another Echoes game. I mean, come on, Sigurd had the second biggest spotlight right behind Marth, and the Western audience is really truly overdue to experience the story of genealogy. If there was any other takeaway from Engage though, this game refreshed in me the idea that, much like with Tears of the Kingdom, you often don't need the best story, you just need really fun gameplay. Even if it somehow leads back to 5 more years of Three Houses drama. A bit of a late contender this year, and most likely what would have taken the spot for Sea of Stars, but I promised that I'd play Super Mario RPG on release, and so I did, and what a journey this game took me on. Having never played the original, it is crystal clear to see why this game was so beloved, so endearing to its original fanbase. Right from the get-go, this world is vibrant, it is gripping, it just grabs a hold of you and you just keep on going and keep getting thrown with so many wonderful and curious choices and designs that you can't help but feel engaged in wanting to see more. My first entry in the Mario RPG series and my first RPG ever was the original Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64, and now having played Mario RPG, my eyes were opened to the true spirit that Nintendo captured and preserved over the next few games in the Mario RPG series. The wit, the charm, the gameplay, all derived from such a wonderful adventure. The only complaint I can even muster is the design choice to lock away harder difficulties, only including them for boss rematches. The team was already messing around with the numbers to account for perfect timing splash damage and special moves, so it just doesn't make sense to me why they couldn't offer a higher difficulty for the whole game from the get-go for the fans who wanted it. The only real spike in difficulty that I even saw on the normal mode was the fact that many mobs in the later stages just began to use area of attack abilities, but by that point, having Peach in the party just negated that curve outright. Overall, Super Mario RPG is a wonderful game, and I loved sinking my teeth into such a wonderful slice of enhanced RPG history. I only wish that the game had a bit more teeth to sink back into me. Now be honest, does anybody know what to expect when turning on Live Alive for the first time? Anyone at all? Because I'll be honest, I had no clue, no idea what I was getting into. Even when you are playing through it, because each story's premise and gameplay is so different than one another, you can't even formulate a solid opinion as you're playing through it. But with each chapter complete, each curtain thrown wide open, as the puzzle pieces begin to set and the bigger picture unfolds, what you get is the very spirit of the RPG genre. The melancholy, the triumph, all bolstered by a motif that rings more true with each story having been played through, all culminating in one of the greatest ending spectacles I've had the pleasure of experiencing in any RPG. The homages to many parts of Japanese culture are all fantastic, be it the late 90s, early 2000s rom-com tropes of prehistoric period, the occult and sci-fi tropes of near and distant future, the classic tale of the Edo period, and without a doubt my favorite, one of the rawest tellings of the hero's journey I've ever seen in any game. Paired with an excellent soundtrack, beautiful HD 2D stylings, and a great cast of voices that are ready to tell their tales, Live Alive surely livened up my gaming experience this year. The original Octopath Journey back in 2018 was a phenomenal callback to the RPGs of old, introducing the eightfold of adventurers and their unique tales in a beautiful but dangerous world. So in the September 2022 Direct, the first moment I heard that familiar motif play, my heart swelled with anticipation for the new adventures that awaited. And it was everything that I wanted and more. Square Enix had taken many of the initial criticisms of the original Octopath Journey and turned them into great strengths. As an example, the world and its stories are far more interconnected as compared to the first game. Instead of filling up the world and its map with a myriad of towns that serve only a purpose for a singular character, each town plays a central hub to much of the main cast. I actually cared for these towns and the side characters within Celestia far more than I thought I would. Encompassed with the changes to path actions, to say nothing of the quality of life that was given to combat, and Octopath Traveler 2 quickly became one of, if not my favorite games of this year. My only criticism of such a wonderful RPG entry is that I simply cannot replay this journey over as if it was the first time. That is how phenomenal and how well Square executed this game, and I will be sorely disappointed if an Octopath Traveler 3 is not in our forecast. Yes, I know Xenoblade Chronicles 3 wins 2 years in a row, but Future Redeemed has so much for me to validate my reasoning as to why. For one, Future Redeemed neatly ties up much of the Klaus saga, most pertinently questions that were left out of the base game of 3. With characters new and old coming together to tie the last few threads, the Cent Omnia region played its role to perfection, bringing out dozens if not hundreds of references and allusions to both of the worlds of Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2 that, as someone who truly loves all of this series, it was hard not to enrapture myself in every minute detail. All of this paired with what I believe is one of, if not the best gameplay loops in any video game ever. Hands down the best mechanic in any of the Xenoblade games, the Affinity Point system promoted every facet of open world gameplay that then led into enhancing itemization and character power progression, then looping back into itself. The Enemipedia is what really makes much of this gameplay loop click, creating incentive for hunting opponents to not only collect affinity points but also drop upgrades as well. Pretty much everything in Future Redeemed's gameplay loop is multi-fold. For clearing one objective, you're rewarded with progression towards 2 or 3 different aspects of gameplay at a minimum. All of this rounded out with a brilliant conclusion to the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy, a wonderful story with an emotional soundtrack paired up with it, characters that I will truly remember for the rest of my life. Future Redeemed is hands down my favorite game that I had the pleasure to experience this year. And those are my top 5 of 2023, but please let me know down below what were your favorite games this year. We were honestly blessed with such an expansive variety of releases this year, and there are plenty more games that I'm eagerly waiting to talk about, but that is going to be all for now. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave it a like and consider subscribing for more gaming content, but until next time, I hope that you all have a great day.